At my father's funeral, my sister didn't cry, didn't mourn, and didn't care about the grief around her. She handed me a paper with a smirk, an eviction notice, and whispered in front of everyone, "You're a genetic mistake." Shock froze me for a second, but I didn't react. The guests stared. My sister stood tall, confident, thinking she had destroyed me before I could even fight back. What she didn't know was that my father had already prepared for this exact moment, leaving me the tools to turn her cruelty into her greatest downfall. The day of my father's funeral was already heavy, but my sister made it cruel. While people were still offering condolences, she walked up to me with a thin smile and slipped a paper into my hand. It wasn't sympathy, it was an eviction notice. Right there, in front of everyone, she leaned close and whispered, "You don't belong here. You're a genetic mistake." A few guests heard it. Some looked away, some stared like they were watching drama instead of grief. My sister stood tall, confident, like she had already won. She expected me to break down, to argue, to embarrass myself. But I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at the paper and then at her face. She thought I would cry, but I didn't. I stayed quiet while her smile grew wider. But what she didn't know was that my father had already prepared for this moment. By the evening, her notice turned into action. My sister made sure the locks were changed before I could even return to the house. My clothes, my documents, everything I owned was suddenly out of reach. When I tried to use my card, it declined. Then again. Then my banking app logged me out. A legal hold, the message said. She had already contacted lawyers and frozen access to anything connected to my name. It wasn't just eviction, it was control. She started calling relatives, telling them I was unstable, that I was trying to steal what wasn't mine. One by one, messages stopped coming in. No one defended me. No one asked for my side. They stood quiet behind her, like silence was loyalty. They didn't just remove me from the house, they tried to remove me from life. And that's when I opened the one file my father told me never to touch, until betrayal happened. When I opened the file, my father's voice came back to me like he was sitting across from me again. Months before he passed, he warned me about my sister. He said she loved money more than people, and power more than truth. He told me that once he was gone, she wouldn't see me as family, only as an obstacle. I remember asking him why he trusted me with things he never shared with her. He looked at me calmly and said, "Because you think before you react." Inside the file were notes, legal copies, and small messages he had written for me. They weren't emotional letters, they were plans. My chest felt tight, but my mind stayed clear. My father didn't leave me money, he left me instructions, and the first instruction shocked me more than the eviction itself. After the funeral, my sister didn't stay quiet. She started telling people that I was never real family. She said my father only kept me out of pity, not blood. At dinners, on calls, and through messages, she repeated the same story until it sounded true to others. Slowly, friends who once trusted me began asking strange questions. Some stopped replying at all. She wasn't trying to take my place, she was trying to erase it. I watched everything without reacting. I didn't defend myself online. I didn't beg anyone to believe me. I just listened and took notes in my head. Every word she spread showed her fear, not her strength. She wasn't attacking my house, she was attacking my identity. But every lie she told was actually activating something hidden in my father's will. I met my father's lawyer a few days later and showed him the file. He read quietly, then nodded like he already knew where this was going. He opened the will and pointed to a section my sister had never bothered to understand. It said that if any beneficiary attacked another's bloodline or claimed someone wasn't real family, they would lose their entire share. No warnings, no second chances, just forfeiture. My sister's favorite weapon was now her biggest danger. The lawyer explained that my father expected her to use the genetic argument because she believed blood was everything. I felt my hands tightened when I understood it. My father turned greed into a legal grenade. My sister was already holding it. But the problem was she hadn't triggered it yet. Soon after, my sister filed a case against me. On paper, she acted respectful and calm. The legal documents talked about influence, control, and fairness, but never once mentioned blood or genetics. In public, she kept calling me a mistake, but inside the courtroom, her words were clean and careful. She smiled for cameras and whispered poison at family events, yet her lawyer protected every sentence on record. That's when I understood something important. She wasn't stupid. She knew exactly where the danger was. She was hurting me outside the law while shielding herself inside it. I read every line of her filing and saw how controlled it was. In public, she attacked me. In court, she protected herself. So I decided I wouldn't wait for her mistake. I would manufacture it. I changed my strategy and acted tired. I sent her lawyer a message saying I was ready to walk away. I offered a small settlement, just enough to look desperate, not dangerous. I wrote like someone who had lost hope. My sister didn't see weakness, she saw victory. Instead of accepting quietly, her ego woke up. She replied with insults and accused me of hiding money. She demanded a full deposition and a deep investigation into my life, like she wanted to crush me in public, not just win in private. That's exactly what I needed. She couldn't resist showing power. She wanted an audience. Strong people don't fall from pressure, they fall from pride, and pride walked straight into my courtroom seat. The deposition began in a quiet office, my father's lawyer sitting across from me with a calm, measured tone. Questions were simple, direct, almost boring, but each one was a trap in disguise. My sister shifted in her chair, her smile tightening, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. She answered carefully at first, measuring every word like a practiced actor. I didn't speak, I didn't react. I only watched her, noting the subtle cracks in her confidence. The more calm we stayed, the louder she became. She started interrupting, raising her voice, trying to intimidate the lawyer and me, forgetting that her audience was now recorded. Every glance, every hesitation made her look more desperate. I sat back and waited, letting her energy do the work for me, until one sentence finally snapped her mask. Her words came out before she could think. She isn't really his child. She's a genetic mistake. The room went silent, and every person present froze. On record, in her own voice, she had said the one thing my father's clause required. My lawyer didn't hesitate. He flipped to the will, pointed to the section, and calmly declared that her inheritance was immediately forfeited. Gasps filled the office. My sister's face went pale, her confidence evaporating in seconds. She hadn't realized she had just signed her own defeat. She didn't lose the case, she confessed herself out of it, but the real punishment was still coming. The moment the clause was enforced, everything changed instantly. My sister's share vanished from the records, her plans collapsing like a house of cards. The eviction she had celebrated became meaningless. The locks were changed back, and my rightful place in the house was restored. It was more than money, it was power, reputation, and control shifting in my favor. Every move she had made to humiliate me now turned against her. The house she kicked me out of kicked her out instead. I could feel the weight of victory settling, but the quiet wasn't peace, and that's when my mother tried to crawl back. My mother called, her voice shaking with a mix of guilt and hesitation. She tried to apologize, to explain, to ask me to forgive her, but I didn't respond like before. I made it clear that her attempts wouldn't erase the past and that boundaries had to be respected. My sister, meanwhile, faced whispers, judgment, and awkward questions from friends and acquaintances. Her social circle started to shrink as people realized the truth she had tried to hide. I didn't need to fight them. The story revealed itself. Slowly, respect returned to me, the kind that isn't demanded but earned. When power changes hands, loyalty changes faces. But my real victory wasn't money, it was something deeper. They called me a mistake, a genetic accident, someone who didn't belong. I let them talk while I focused on what really mattered, my own strength, my own choices. The insult they threw became my shield, and every attempt to break me only made me stronger. I reclaimed my life, my inheritance, and my dignity without begging or pleading. They tried to define me, but I defined myself. They called me a mistake, but mistakes don't build empires. If there's one thing I learned through all of this, it's simple. Never beg family to accept you. Build so strong they regret doubting you. Don't wait for anyone to choose you. Take control of your life today. Like, comment, and share if you believe in standing up for yourself.